Welcome back to Meet the Cabinet. Joining us now is Special Assistant to the Office of the Superintendent, Mr. Tommy Chang, and the Chief Strategy Officer, Mr. Matt Hill. Welcome, gentlemen.
Thank you.
And Dr. Deasy, I'm going to ask you to do the same thing that we did earlier with our other two guests, and that is give us some context as to how these two positions, and these two gentlemen in particular, fit into the overall strategy and goals that you've set for yourself and for the district.
So again, two other amazing individuals, part of our team, and our team's responsibility is to assure the rights of every single student at LAUSD, that all youth graduate college workforce ready, and that they are in front of a highly effective teacher led by a highly effective principal every single day. In an environment where parents are engaged and that our schools are safe and clean. And that's how we think about this work, and we think about this work at a very high pace so that we can assure these rights sooner, much more than later.
And I'm going to start with you, Matt. We heard from the superintendent. He set out our goals. How do you see your position and your office in supporting and achieving those goals that he set out?
Right. I mean, the key thing I see is if you look at every single child and how do you reach their fullest potential, is that you have to have a strategy or approach to doing that. And that strategy includes all of us. And so when we think about it, I think of a simple triangle. So you make a connection between a student, educators, which is every single one of us in this district, and families and communities. And you make that triangle there. If any of those links are broken, it's not going to work. And so my team is really about how do you provide that support for the schools to be able to do their job. So we have 5 divisions that I work with every day, amazing team that's focused on one, budget. So how do you make sure the resources get down to the school site and we're maximizing every single dollar that our taxpayers are giving us every single day. Second is around data. So how do we know that students are learning the content they need to be successful in life? And so make sure the data is timely, usable, very friendly. Third is when you look at how do you support all the employees in the district. So we have a talent management office. So how do we make sure that we are providing them the right assessment of the skills they're doing to connect with the child and the students every day? And then what are the supports they need from that? Fourth, you get into IT. So making sure there's access to connectivity in the school sites. How can students gather that content, and how do we support our employees? How do we do payroll systems, et cetera? And finally, we have choice for our parents in the community. So our charter office is making sure we have high quality schools that are accessible for all students.
And I'm going to come back to you, and I want to hear a little bit about the successes you've had in another district here in California in tying some of these things together and how you see the challenge in LAUSD. But before we do that, Mr. Chang, yours is the one I need to get a little more information of. Special Assistant to the Office of Superintendent.
Yeah.
Give our viewers some context and tell us what exactly are you charged with?
Absolutely. I would put my work in 2 big buckets. I think the most important one is how do we get this amazing team that the superintendent has formed, how do we get us to work in a very efficient manner every single day? So how are we communicating with each other? How are we breaking up our day-to-day activities? How are we daily, weekly, monthly focused on the performance meter that the superintendent has dictated and these goals that we will need to meet? So getting this team working very efficiently is first big bucket. I think a second big bucket is, as we look at this massive organization, LA Unify, how do we start working across teams and across divisions? So I take on a lot of special projects as dictated that will require people from cross divisions, cross-functional teams to create a matrix organization. So most recently been involved in bringing folks from various different groups to create a new parent access website, which I can talk about in more detail a little bit later.
Jorge, if you think about it a little bit like the following. So the board sets policy for LAUSD and hires me to run the system under these policies. And we have a set of goals, so we have to deliver to the public and to the youth. You can't do that unless there's a strategy that those goals are going to be successful. Matt is responsible for steering us and keeping us on the strategy that we will get to these goals in the time that we said we were going to do that. And so if we think about strategy as kind of the compass, that is very important. We all execute. We execute the plans inside the strategy to deliver those results. One of the things that Tommy does is make sure that nothing falls off the table. We take very large bites of work and we're moving very, very quickly, and what happens in complex organizations is stuff gets forgotten. And one of the roles is to make sure that does not happen. So it kind of holds our own feet to the fire inside the team. Okay, you promised to do this by Friday. It's not done. Why not? Tuesday morning, you said you're going to do this. You did it well. Let's keep going. That's how I think about it.
And I'm glad you said that, because that is actually going to be my follow-up. If you did a great job of tying the other two gentlemen and their positions together, that's exactly what I wanted to hear. How is it that then you tie these two together? So thank you for that. So I can come back to Matt now. In hearing some of the goals that you were setting out and how this work is going to be accomplished, share a little bit about some of the past successes you've had. I know that you had some success in Oakland doing something very similar. How do you compare the work that you've done there with the task that you have in front of you with LAUSD?
I think we all know at the heart of education is that connection between a teacher and a child. And so how can we make sure that the entire system is supporting that? I think we've seen that. I previously worked up in Oakland Unified, and we try to do a very similar approach, is that all of the challenges we have, students have challenges that they bring to the table that's preventing them from accessing that knowledge. And so we don't focus on the challenges, we focus on making a simple solution, is that connection. And so in Oakland, it was the most improved school district in the state of California, urban school district in the state of California over the last 6 years. I like to say in LA now, we are the most improved this past year. And so you can see progress, and I really think it—
Let me just clarify that we're number one.
We're number one. So I mean, I think that's the key thing there.
Now that we're competitive.
Don't be shy.
Yeah. And so, I mean, I think what we see here in LA is that number one is like we have to make sure we're all on the same page of what our students are trying to learn, and how do we assess that they're learning that? Yeah. And then if they're not, how do we intervene and provide supports? And if they are, how do we accelerate that? So our number one strategy we talk is using data drives the interface. Can be jargony, but it's really that connection to that child and the content they want to know. Number two is you look at supporting all employees. It's not classified employees versus certificated. We're on one single team aligned to one goal, that 100% of our students graduate and are there. So have we created all the supports that we need for our employees to do that? Three is we really look about creating supporting quality schools. Is that magnet schools, small schools, large schools, pilot schools, SPAM schools. That doesn't matter. As a parent myself of two young sons, I want to make sure that in my neighborhood or somewhere I can get access to for my children, there's a quality school they can get there. So how do we manage that? And then finally is that we really have to know what we're doing with our money, and making sure that it's investing. Every single dollar that we spend is having that positive impact on the students.
Before I come back to Tommy, Superintendent, I want to ask you, you clearly define how they support your goals. The purpose of the show is for our viewers to understand who they are and the roles that they're playing. So my question is, as somebody on the outside, how will I know, how will I be able to gauge the work and the efficiency or the efficacy of the work that not only these gentlemen but your entire team is doing?
Great question. I'm going to say a couple of things. One is, one of the ways that we try to hold ourselves accountable is that we're a group of parents and citizens, and we are a group of people who love the fact that we're being held accountable for delivering for students. That's an important piece to building a team. So as such, you hold us accountable by results. We are now the fastest improving urban district in California. Great. And we intend to be that way for the foreseeable future until we end up as number one. And then you don't need to improve anymore. The people are chasing our tail, which is what we look forward to have happening in California. So that the amazing practices I see at schools, other districts in California, they too can have that. And we want to be able to share that. So hold us accountable by results. And are we investing our dollars well? This is a very difficult economy. People are really struggling. And so not only does every penny count, but how you spend every penny matters hugely. And we don't have a lot of them. California, as you know, does not invest in its public schools. So what little they do give us, as compared to kind of the kind of gross inequity of what they spend on prisons versus schools, we have to make sure that we're investing that in supporting the goals of students. And that's what we look forward to being held accountable for.
And I'm going to come back to you now, Matt, because the superintendent stated your job seems to be making sure nothing falls off the table. Which I imagine is a pretty large table. How do you not only accomplish that goal, but how do you inject your vision and your background experience as an educator? How I would imagine or I would like to see that you're the one that's advocating to make sure we don't forget that's who we're working for.
Yeah. So first of all, I was a principal. I was a teacher first. I was a principal, and I'm a parent currently. So I have the experience in 3 huge critical roles for this district, and I will advocate in those roles for everything we do on this team. Specifically, right now, as a parent in LA Unified, I would love to have personalized experience to the schools. So right now, I was referring to this parent access website. We will be able to launch this year a way for parents to go online. It will be a tool for them to get personalized information about their child's school, academic information, academic growth over time data. They will be able to apply to magnet schools online, and eventually we're going to be putting on the lunch programs, transportation, and that's a way for them to really start engaging with the school district in a more meaningful way and not be so disconnected. That's an example of how I'm advocating as a parent on this team.
We want parents to have one-stop shopping and one-stop shopping for information and access, so that you don't have to go to 15 different places, possibly not get information here. There's too much happening at home. We don't need another barrier to making sure that tomorrow is not a problem in school. And so that's one of the things around this whole issue of parent and community access. And we believe that enough for the large committees at the district office, this is at the school site. That's where it matters. And so resources and parent engagement is being driven very much to school sites.
And you know, in this last few minutes that we have, I want to ask the same question that I asked of our previous guest, and sort of make it a twofold. What do you see as the biggest challenge currently facing you, and what are you most looking forward to in taking on that challenge?
I mean, the biggest challenge for the state of California, especially LA, is the pathetic level of funding that we get from Sacramento. I mean, it is ridiculous to see what we've been trying to accomplish with the funding we receive. The bright side is that I think it's forcing all of us to work together to meet the needs of students, and you see that through the results. Our students are working harder, our teachers, our custodians are classified, and we're coming together more and more as an LAUSD family to address those needs. So I think it's continuing to stay focused on why we're here and maximizing every single dollar and the time, how we spend our time and the conversations we have. We should be focusing on what are we doing about algebra? How are we helping ensure that all students can master the skills they need for algebra? And that's what we're starting to see in our conversations and meetings and throughout the district.
And Tommy, I want to ask you the same question. What are you seeing as your biggest challenge right now? And the flip side, what are you most looking forward to in tackling that challenge?
Yeah, I'll piggyback on Matt and allude to a data point that Tom spoke about earlier. There's 80,000 employees in this district. There is a singular vision that the superintendent has laid out, and we need to all drive in that direction to get everybody invested in that process, and include the students and the parents along with this process. I'm just really excited. It's a very exciting time in LA Unified. I like to say this is a talent magnet. There are a lot of good people who want to work for LA Unified, work for Dr. Deasy, and I'm just very excited to be part of this team.
Dr. Deasy, I'd like for you to take us out. What then do you see as the big picture takeaway from what your team is trying to accomplish?
I meant the challenge for me is how quickly I honor every youth right in this city. And I say that we're 23 cities, but LAUSD, they've been waiting too long. And so it's managing the support for a team, because fewer are doing more work at a quicker pace. And so it's feeding and nurturing the system so that we can deliver.
Well, thank you, Dr. Deasy. Gentlemen, thank you very much. Look forward to seeing these successful results that Dr. Deasy was speaking about. And I want to thank you, our viewers, for watching. And if you want to find out more about the district and the work being done to improve student achievement, as well as the goals that Superintendent Deasy has set out, please visit www.lausd.net. I'm Jorge Briceño for our superintendent and our distinguished guest. Thank you very much for watching.